Hah-Yin often drove through the rural town of Mantua, Ohio, with its old railway station and sprawling property surrounded by dense woods and cornfields. The scenic Route 44S was a familiar path she took to visit her boyfriend. One summer afternoon in 2011, as she drove into Mantua, she noticed something unusual on the side of the road. The area was quiet, with houses on large plots of land shaded by tall trees. Across the road, a cornfield stretched for miles, bordered by a deep grassy drainage culvert. Hah-Yin saw a large dark brown hairy mass near the road, but it was hard to make out. She thought it might be a dead deer or an escaped cow. But as she got closer, she realized it was a dog being eaten by another dog, the largest she had ever seen. The dog's eyes were empty and freaky, and when it looked up at her car, Hah-Yin felt a chill run down her spine. The dog's gaze seemed to pierce through her, exuding an aura of pure evil. As she drove past, the dog went back to eating the carcass, seemingly unbothered by her presence. Hah-Yin was shaken and slowed down, then sped up, trying to process what she had seen. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. The dog's size, its movement, and its eyes all seemed unnatural. Hah-Yin rolled down her window to get a better look. But as she passed by, she realized that she needed to get out of there as quickly as possible. She sped up, her heart racing with fear. As she drove away, Hah-Yin couldn't help but think about what she had just seen. She slowed down, then sped up again, trying to make sense of the encounter. She looked for the nearest driveway on her right side, maybe 50 to 75 yards away, and peeled into the driveway to turn around and go back. As she put her car in park, she saw that a man was home and was sitting in a lawn chair outside his garage, faced parallel to the road, blissfully unaware of what's just up the road behind him, while his two Labradors amble around him. Hah-Yin got out of her car and approached the man, still trying to process what she had seen. "Take your dogs inside. You need to get inside your house," she exclaimed, trying to warn him of the potential danger. The man looked at her confused, and Hah-Yin realized that she must have seemed frantic. She tried to explain what she had seen, but the man didn't seem to understand. He got up out of his lawn chair to look where she was pointing, but the trees at the edge of his property blocked the scene from view, and it was just a bit too far. Hah-Yin got back in her car and kept warning the man to get his dogs inside. If their places had been exchanged, she probably would have called the cops on someone who came ripping into her driveway, rambling about some wild animal in a panic. She was terrified and full of adrenaline, with no regard to ruining the man's peaceful afternoon. She didn't remember how she felt it with him, but she got back in her car, backed out onto 44, and headed back north from the way she came to get a better look at this thing, still from the safety of her moving car. As she drove back, Hah-Yin's mind was racing with questions. What was that creature? Why was it eating a dog? And why did it seem so unbothered by her presence? She passed where it was, and it was gone. She drove back and forth one more time in disbelief at the whole thing, further back than she thought to be safe, thinking she'd underestimated the distance between the carcass and the house she stopped at. But there was a hole in the corn where whatever this thing was clearly dragged the dog it was eating to finish away from the road. Hah-Yin remembered sitting stopped on the side of the road after turning around again and heading back south, looking across the road at this hole in the corn that looked far too innocent to do justice to what she had just seen. No one driving by would even notice it. She had her head on a swivel around her car and locked her doors. But something told her she wouldn't see it again and to get out of there, so she did. When she passed the house again, the man and dogs weren't in the yard anymore and the garage was closed. Completely rattled, Hah-Yin called her boyfriend as she drove away, but if she remembered correctly, he didn't answer. When she got to his house, she was so shaken up that she couldn't make sense of what she had seen. This was right after high school, and he still lived with his folks in a cold, creaky farmhouse in Ravenna they had just moved into, just a few towns over. Hah-Yin did not feel safe in that house that night. It brought back all her childhood fears of being afraid of the dark and what was under the bed, like it could be anywhere. Hah-Yin remembered this like it was yesterday. And even though she shared this story with a few friends, she's never written it down. Whatever this thing was, it was built like a dog, but bigger than any dog she's ever seen. It was very dark brown with dirty hair. She's considered that it might have been a black bear with mange. But even though she only got a quick glimpse, it didn't move like a bear. And the piercing eyes in broad daylight, those were something else. It was canine, not Bigfoot or any other common myth that she's aware of. Maybe someone here will know. Hah-Yin doesn't done too much research into what could it be because she thinks part of her is scared to know what it could be. Black dog, werewolf, she has no idea. It was big, at least 200 pounds, maybe bigger. The dog it was eating was also quite large. Hah-Yin is a skeptic, but to this day, this is the only unexplainable creepy thing she'd seen with her own two eyes that truly shook her to her core. For months, she couldn't stop thinking about it, and it still scares and disturbs her to tell the story. There's weird stuff out there in the rural Midwest. The experience left Hah-Yin with a sense of unease, a feeling that there's something lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. She's tried to move on, to forget what she saw, but it's hard to shake off the memory of those piercing eyes. Even now, as she looks back on that day, she can't help but wonder what that creature was and what it wanted. Was it a monster, a creature from myth and legend, or just a wild animal that had wandered into the wrong place at the wrong time? Hah-Yin may never know the answer, but she'll always remember the fear and unease that it instilled in her. What do you think the strange creature Hah-Yin saw was? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have had any scary encounters, share your experiences with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to FearFlix for more videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you at the next one.